Yo, what's going on, guys? BotMentality here with another Bitcoin chart analysis for today. And today is April 10th of 2018. Let us go ahead and jump into this, guys. All right, so what's been going on? We'll jump over here onto the hourly. And let's break down the market sentiment right now. So pretty much, I'm going to be honest with you guys, nothing has really changed. It's actually been pretty boring the past 24 hours since my last video. We've seen some news be released. It hasn't been significant. It's had no effect on the price action. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Really, not much has really happened, guys, to be honest with you. Things are kind of the same. The bulls are in the same spot. Bears are in the same spot. Really, no one's budging yet. Just remember, yet no one's budging. And we'll see exactly what happens here soon. But we'll go ahead and jump into the hourly. So what's been happening for the last, let's say 14 hours or so? We've just been sitting here, guys. We've just been sitting right here, not doing much. We've been hitting the lows. If you look at the lows here, we've seen wicks pull down towards the, I'll go ahead and mark, let's say the 6660 area. We've been seeing some wicks. We get being bought above that. We've bought above it right here on the hourly. Oops, right here. We bought above it there. We had a nice pullback here and touched it. We've just been hovering above that point. As far as the resistance has really been at the let's just say 6,800. That'd be a nice round area. You see, we've been trying to get over that 6,800 area. We haven't been able to do it quite yet. And you see these tops right here into that level. So what does this mean? Really, right now, the sellers essentially have just moved down. That's all it is. They found the 6,800 as their new area to layer their orders around. They probably picked that based off of this prior resistance here. We've seen it hovered over the 6,800 area. And remember that previous support will become resistance and vice versa. And they're just sellers are slowly moving down. The buyers, however, have moved up a little bit. These are the last lows. If we can hold these lows, we definitely have made higher lows. But really what's happening, and you'll definitely see this when I move over to the daily chart, is we're having a continuation of the consolidation of the price action. So we're having lower highs and also higher lows. The range is getting tighter. And I'll talk about it more on the daily, but really we can't continue that forever. But for right now on the hourly, this is a little bit too close of a range. We're talking a little over, what, 130 bucks? Just right around there, trading this little itty bitty channel here. I'm not going for it. If you guys want to trade that, you can. I like to look for a little bit of a bigger move. So I'd kind of be careful. And if you are trading this, just don't size up, because you never know. Out of nowhere, we could just spike up. And I'll go ahead and talk about the volume. The reason why I say that is because if you look at the volume, we had this increase here the other day in bear volume, and we saw another spike right here, but we leveled right back off. We went right back to our normal levels and the lack of excitement. So the reason why I'm saying I wouldn't trade this channel with a ton of size is because you never know when someone might market buy or market sell, etc. Or even a news article comes out that actually has some sort of effect on the market, and all of a sudden we just shoot up past this channel, either up here, or down here. So it could happen either way. You never know. That's why I say you need to control your size, especially when the range is so tight like this. It's really just not. This really isn't worth it. It's really hard to have an edge right here. So definitely be careful of that. One thing I want to point out regarding this sell-off, and now that we've seen a couple hours pass by since my last video, we're looking for a bounce. One of the things I mentioned, a good short entry would be a bounce up towards the really between the 6880 or around that area, all the way up to 6900. That'd be a really good spot. And the reason why I said that was because I was looking at this prior resistance we had here on the hourly. We didn't see that bounce at all, guys. We pretty much sold off and then stayed here, which this really shows that the buyers just aren't rushing in for those V-shaped recoveries we used to see back in the day. This sort of thing right here, but on a much larger scale. We aren't seeing that anymore. And so what's happening is we dump. The buyers are keeping their orders, where they were, which has been around this 6,500 area. They're keeping their orders down there. They're not moving them, and they're not pushing up too much. For the majority. So you got to be careful with these bounce plays. You got to be careful with these bounce plays. And that's why I say you want to make sure you always buy to the lowest point of the channel, because you don't know how much we're going to move up in that area. So keep an eye out for that. And one thing I want to also point out is look at this sell-off we had back here on April 4th. I'm just going to circle it. This right here, that sell-off, if you notice, we didn't have much of a bounce there either, guys. We pretty much came straight down. And so when you look over here at this price action, that's kind of like what we're getting. we're just getting sold off. Some people are looking for a bounce, and then we're not getting it. And I think kind of this might be the extended version of that, but we'll just have to wait and see. The volume's so low right now, it's really hard to tell, you know, which way we're going to go from this location. Also, you can look back on the first, right about into this move. You can see the same thing happen. We kind of dumped and then consolidated right here and then pulled back even more. So just be careful as far as looking for bounce plays with this. Trade small. I would leave this channel alone, guys. This isn't like, you know, we're trading between the previous channel of what, 65.20 all the way up to 7,200. That's a pretty big range. This is really tight. This is a really tight range, and I don't think we'll stay in it for much longer. We'll have to pick a direction here soon because this consolidation is becoming pretty extreme. So that's what I got there regarding the volume. On the RSI, we're currently sitting here at 44.02. So not quite, we're not quite in the middle yet. I would say we have a little while to go before we get to oversold territory, and that lines up with the 6,520 test to the downside. And over bot, we'd have to get back up to, you know, back up to 7,000 before we get into that sell range. But if I were you, I wouldn't buy in this middle channel. And also, one thing I'll go ahead and point out is if we draw the major channel, you know, at 7,200 right there, where you see we had the reject here and also the reject here. So this is the area, and then we also had that sort of really ugly head and shoulders pattern I drew a few videos ago. So you see that 7,200 area is pretty strong resistance. If we draw that line, then we already have the one drawn down here at the 65. Or I'll go ahead and put it here. Just so I'll delete these just so you guys can see a little bit better. Even though we're at the bottom of this channel here at the 65.20, this old channel we were in, we're heading towards the bottom of that. I would honestly wait because the price drop here would line up with the lower RSI around the sub 25 areas. What I'm really focusing on. It'd line up with that pretty well. I wouldn't buy too much here. I'd wait for you want to wait for the bottom of the channel as far as to get long for the bull case. Bear case, I want to pop. I wouldn't be shorting this again. It's just too tight of range. But I would like to see a pop up towards 7,000. That'd be where I'd be feeling getting short, watching this resistance right here. As a risk. So that's just me. That's kind of what I see here on the hourly, guys. Honestly, there's really not much to talk about here besides what we talked about yesterday, just because not much has really happened. Honestly, this is essentially what happened between this video and last video. Let's go ahead and jump over to the daily. I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's where things get more interesting to me personally. Let's go ahead and jump over here. Now, remember, we've been talking over and over and over again about the this wedge that we're forming. And one thing I want to point out is we do have a second red candle here on the daily. So we're slowly approaching that point of are we going to break or not, essentially, with these lows down here around the 6,500, 6,450 area. We're slowly approaching that, guys. And we have the range is getting tighter. If you just look at today, we had what, a high of $6,798.07 and the low of $6,661.19. So the range is tightening, especially if we zoom in here. You can see that. You can see the range is getting tighter right here. We're not moving up, and we're inside this bar. If you're trading the daily, I'd be watching the low here. That low would be 6,617. I spoke about that a little bit more in depth in my text analysis. You need to be watching that if you've entered on this candle, kind of anticipating a break up for the long. And for the short side, I'll just be watching the high a day, the high up there at 6,800. If we get going over that, it could be a pretty nice pop up into the resistance of the 6,900 area. And the resistance I'm looking at is you know, a little over the top of this candle and below the bottom of this candle. That was really ugly that I drew. I apologize there, guys. The accuracy was not with me there. So that's really what I'd focus on as far as the daily goes. Regarding the RSI, we're at 36. Again, pay attention to that 40 level. We've projected off that, you know, 3 times here at the 40. As far as for the long, look for support at the 33 RSI and below that the 30 RSI. And those levels would really line up if we have a bottom test towards 6,500 or 6,450. So keep an eye on that. Those levels will come into play if we do end up breaking here within the next day or two. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to wait and see. This is kind of playing out a long time, which one thing I'll point out, guys, this is good in the sense that the momentum that's going to come after this, when you have this much consolidation, I'll just go ahead and draw the trend line I always do. When you have this much consolidation, what happens is force is built up and people are just on the sidelines, angsty, ready to go. The shorts have piled in super heavy. The longs are ready to go. And what happens is once we break either way, we're going to see a strong reaction there. We're going to see a very strong reaction. So it's going to become very clear which direction we're going to go once we see that. But when we see this sort of, this consolidating price action, you start to lose your where's the reward, especially for trading on the hourly, guys. It's not a lot of range. As traders, we need volatility. And that's not something we're seeing right now with Bitcoin. We need to see more. We need to see some serious movement and some momentum in either direction. It doesn't matter to me. It can go up and go down. Either way, I'm going to make money. I trade both long and short, and that's what I recommend for you to do as well, and develop the bot mentality in this situation. So just be patient, guys. Don't freak out. If you haven't made a trade in a day or two, welcome to the boat. If you've made small scalps, good job, made some money here. But I would say the big move is coming up soon. So don't let a small position that might go wrong on you kind of distract you from what the big picture is going to be here soon and the big money to be made once the volatility returns. Now, one thing I'll say here for the daily, just to kind of wrap this up for the bull case and the bear case. For the bull case, I'm looking for a yank. Honestly, I would prefer instead of just us sort of curling back up here, and I'll draw it out for you guys, instead of us curling back up like this, out like this, I would much prefer to see a yank down to test the lows down in this area, which is gonna be right around the 6,500. Just a real quick, huge heavy sell off to that level. Or even lower. It could be even lower since we're on the daily. It could be, 6,200, 6,100, even 5,800 as, the extreme sense. If we could see a yank back there and then a huge surge of bullish volume bias right back up, that'd be a very strong signal. Because what's happening is everyone's so scared of that 5,800 level. Are we going to break it? And everyone's anticipating it. If we get there and we don't see that huge sell-off past it, and instead we see a huge surge of bullish volume, people are going to start piling in. They're going to be like, that's the bottom. So that's an opportunity there for the bull case. I prefer to see that than just a slow curl up right here. Let's just watch and see. We'll watch and see what happens there. For the bear case, I want to see us make a lower. It needs to see, we have these lower highs right here. I've been talking about, lower high here and a 75, lower high here into the 7,200 resistance. We've talked so much about the top of that channel. I'd want to see a mini lower high. You see how tight we're getting in this range, guys. It's getting kind of ridiculous. A lower high somewhere around this line here. So somewhere around the 6,800, 6,900 area. And the 6,900 area would work well, especially if you look at the resistance and support there we had on the hourly as far as a target for a bounce. If we did bounce from the 6,700 area, that 6,900 area would kind of look for a good lower high and then for a pullback. So if you're short, this isn't where I'd pile on. I'd wait for some sort of bounce, and you would just keep this hourly daily lower high pattern in mind with that. That's really all I got for today, guys. Like I said, this is pretty boring price action right now, but just be patient. Don't lose hope. Things are going to change soon, and either way, if you just think about the big dream in cryptocurrency and where we all imagine this in the future, either way, we could see a couple more, let's just say months of bearish action. But I think that's pale in comparison to what cryptocurrency has really done so far and what it has as far as potential in the future of Bitcoin. I think this will eventually go big. So don't really focus too much just on what's happening right now. Scroll out a little bit and look at the bigger picture. We're doing a lot. By the way, that green arrow, I just have it sitting there. That's when I bought Bitcoin. Just so you guys know. But yeah, so that's about it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got some things I got to take care of. Make sure you guys trade safe. Control your size right now. Now is not the time to be bringing the hammer. And yeah, develop the trading mentality, the bot mentality. And I'll see you guys later. And remember, trade like a machine. Have a good one.